Okay.
Yeah, about an hour. Okay, we are now live. I have the brother, the Grand Master Rahh, back on. Let's get some more people in the chat room. Opportunity to get into the chat room, fill it up some more. And this morning, well, it's morning in Atlanta, but it's afternoon in Mombasa, the beautiful city of Mombasa. I've been to the airport, but I never actually been to the city. I had a layover going to Zanzibar. I was flying from Nairobi to Zanzibar and I had a layover in Mombasa, so I just been to the city. But we have the brother Rahh back live again, and today we're going to be discussing new modern African martial arts and going into detail as far as the actual origins of martial arts, clear up any confusion, and also going into what happened or the transition from martial arts being known as far as originating from Africa and then being known as originating from China or Asia. And then also we'll get into the different styles of African martial arts. So brother Rahh, Grand Master, I'm sorry, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and take it from there.
Okay. Well, I'm Grandmaster Rahh. I became a Grandmaster in 2011. A majority of the black belts in Kenya all signed off, and we did it the official way. So since that time, I've just been basically doing the duties of what a Grandmaster would do, and that's at the higher levels, mainly give the seminars, go into the advanced stages of the martial arts, and settle disputes between clubs or instructors, these type of things that are going on in Kenya. I think our main mandate is to keep us unified, keep us communicating, basically. And as men get older, their egos grow. They tend to have this separation. And because we're here in Kenya, we have a model to go by. We can look at what the history of Kempo and martial arts in the United States, and then because what we're doing here is new in Kenya, we can use that as a model of what to do and what mistakes not to make. You see?
Okay. Now, we spoke on it briefly yesterday, as far as martial arts originating from Africa. Now, many people will say it's not true or provide concrete evidence of where we could actually, I guess, prove or the facts on martial arts originating from Africa. What can we point to, or what can we see that will actually prove that martial arts originated from Africa?
Okay, the proof is there. I don't know if people are denying the proof or they want to ignore the proof, but the proof is there, and the proof has been in the public domain for, I don't know, 27 years. There's a brother called Nigel Benz. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's
yeah. I talked to Nigel. He does the bus.
Yeah, he does it, but he also co-published both of the of my instructor's books, and they were actually the first African American martial art books published. And that's Steve Sanders and Grandmaster Donnie Williams.
Okay.
Yeah. So he also wrote a book called Nubian Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
And Nubian Wrestling is the oldest form of martial arts, and it's still practiced today.
And that's,
I think yesterday I was talking.
And that's in Sudan, correct?
That's in Sudan.
Right.
And the Nubian Wrestling, yeah, you can go on YouTube and Nubian Wrestling, and you can see. Now the actual proof is Benny Hine's temple. Ooh, and I have a picture, but I don't know how we can get it on the screen. In temple, and it is the oldest documented evidence of a martial art. Inside this temple, the Arabs have taken it and they have called it Benny Hine's temple. We had a name for it, and unfortunately I forgot it right now. But you even if you had the African name, because everybody knows it as Benny Hine's temple. And then inside this temple, it has about 300-400 drawings, different drawings of wrestling position. Two people doing wrestling positions. You see, so you know the now Binhan Temple is about 3,000 years old.
Okay.
And if you go back in time, the Chinese weren't even a people 3,000 years ago. So here you go into this temple, which is today. It's a tourist attraction in Egypt, and you can go inside there and you can see this the tomb of warriors, I think it's called, and it shows all these different type of positions these people were doing. So that right there is clear evidence that the Africans had martial arts long before the Chinese or the Asians. And the clear fact that you can go and see Nubian Wrestling, and it dates back 2,000 years, and you can see how much trouble they had in that region in South in Sudan. You know, now they have split the country in two. Originally, it was colonized by the British, and the British colonized and put the Arabs and the Africans together. And when colonization over, they just left them like that. And then there was constant war up until a few years ago when the South Sudanese finally got their independence, became the newest country in Africa.
Right. So, and I have to play. I'm ignorant. I'm somewhat ignorant when it comes to martial arts. Now, when people think martial arts, they're gonna think like karate, kung fu. They wouldn't necessarily group, I would say, wrestling with as being a martial art. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I can go deep now. I don't know. I can go really deep with this if you're ready.
Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
We talk about karate, which is really karate, and then you talk about kung fu. And you have to look at the actual real history. Let's take kung fu. Okay, now when you had kung fu, before the whites, the Europeans came into Africa, the Chinese came. They came about 600 years before the Europeans, and they came in and they went around the Africans. They met the Africans. They met black people for the first time, and then these Africans showed them around, and they saw all of the animals, in Africa, and then they traded with the Africans. And then they went back to Asia. So when the Chinese got back to Asia, now they didn't have writing. They didn't have that type of sophisticated way of communicating. When they tried to explain to the Chinese people that they saw monkeys, lions, tigers, and no one could understand because they had no Chinese words for these animals. So what they started to do is they started to imitate the animals. So they imitate the monkey, and the Chinese people would say, wow, they imitate what the tiger would do. They would even dress up like a tiger, and then it became a show. It actually became a show and a dance. And Kung Fu was just a dance. It was a dance until the 1960s, basically. And that's when you started having the Western influence, and they started making it into now what you see on TV today as Kung Fu. But it was not something that is ancient Kung Fu style or anything like that. So that is the real origins of Kung Fu. In fact, if you see Monkey Style, I'm sure you probably watched the movie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You see the Monkey Style, what happens? The guy, watch any film, the guy acts like a monkey, then he throws a punch. The guy acts like a monkey, then he throws a kick. You see Jackie Chan, he's doing the tiger style, he makes like a tiger, then he throws a punch. You see, they don't melt together. They don't melt together. They're two separate things. And he made millions of dollars in the Western movies, made millions of dollars in the movies, and people had got the wrong impression of what constitutes real martial arts. So I tell you that my research showed that Kung Fu was just a dance. And in fact, when you look at the history of Jackie Chan, when you look at the history of Jet Li, these people were all in opera. They were all in dance and opera before they got into martial arts. They were not martial artists originally. They were dancers in opera. Bruce Lee, he was an actor before he got into martial arts.
Really?
And this is why they were able to make the things look so dynamic on screen.
So let's talk about Capoeira. Now, Capoeira is credited as far as being originated from Angola. And the story is when the slaves came from Angola to Brazil, in order to, I guess, mask their fighting or training, they masked it through dance. What are your thoughts on Capoeira? Capoeira, if I'm even pronouncing it right, please forgive me.
We as black people, we're being so much fooled by Western media. Huh? Can you just even think about Capoeira? How can a slave in chains hide a mask? And if he's in chains, what would he be doing the martial arts for? If they're going to take you as a slave, are they going to just take only people that know how to fight? That's ridiculous. So Masi, who is one of the main practitioners of Capoeira, came over to Angola with a French guy. I think it was a French guy. And they were trying to find the origins of Capoeira in Angola. This is a fact. And the video is also on YouTube even today. And they couldn't find it. You know how you came to Africa, and maybe you went around, had a chance to go around in the rural areas.
Yes.
And you see, how can you now? What would you see in a rural area where people, the main agricultural thing is agriculture? I mean, you see, farmers. So, and then everything is peaceful. So who would have the time to develop it? Even today in Kenya, you only find martial arts in the, okay. You see, that's what I'm talking about. My kid.
I got mine too, man. He just crashed.
I told him clearly, keep her out. Come get her. And then they run away. They're like they know they're wrong. So anyway, where was I?
Masi, in finding the origins.
Yeah, so Masi came here. Yeah, Masi went to Angola and he tried to find it. So at the end of the day, he ran out of funds because he couldn't find anything dealing with martial arts. So he went into this Angola village, bunch of people to try to do whatever they could do. Did they know anything about martial arts? And so when they saw the Mzungu, they're thinking they're going to get money or something. So they started acting and doing all these funny, trying to pretend that from what they knew from TV. It was sad. There's no connection between old traditional martial arts and what is going on today. There's nothing like that. There's never been a connection between Africa martial arts and Angola. And if you just think about it, if you're a practitioner in the martial arts, there's no way you can learn or even perfect the martial arts unless you're in a proper teaching environment. You see? If you chained up all the day and then you're working all day, nobody wants to do martial arts. You see, because the Westerns have guns. Come get this kid, boy. You standing there and you just laughing. So go to mommy.
So where do you think Capoeira originated from?
This Capoeira.
Yeah, where did it originate from? Yeah.
It came from Brazil. You see, if you look at the case, there's people that were on the beach, and they were doing acrobats, going to Africa in the coastlines. If you go to an African coast and you go to the beach early in the morning, you will find many of these guys that would do acrobatics. And then what they would do, they practice the acrobatics in the morning, and then when the Mzungus would come out in the early afternoon from the hotels, they would now be performed for them for money. This is the same way Capoeira was created. Only this time they made this story up. They say that it came from Africa, probably Angola, from Portugal.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's no evidence. There's no evidence of that. But they made a lot of money because somehow somebody marketed it like that. So you get all of these older Mzungus that would come out to the beach and see all these fit, strong Africans and said that they were doing some martial art that was from Africa. And it just grew from there. The connection. Masi himself came to Angola and he never found any connection. And you cannot show me a videotape from Angola of someone dancing like that. To fight a Capoeira guy. Okay. And I was excited, because I had heard about it at that time. So he agreed, and then the next day he came to the gym. To the University of Martial Arts where we were training, and put on gloves, and we started. He started. He took a step to the left, then a step to the right, and then he went to drop his hands down to do that flip. You see?
Right.
So if you look at when you're standing in front of me, you and me we're pissed off like we're going to fight, isn't it? And then you track your hands, and then you reach forward, and then drop down on the ground, and drop them on the ground. Now I'm trained just like you're trained. Even if you're not trained, you have reflexes.
Right.
Anything that comes towards you, and you're in a fighting mode, you're gonna step back and put your guards up. So when he brought the hands forward to drop them on the ground, I was already stepped back in a fighting stance. You see, and when I stepped back, he didn't have enough distance to reach me with his kicks. Well, I was like, and he kept on trying to do it, and I'm like, this won't work. I try to tell him he can't understand that when I step drag back, he can't reach me. Now my wife is looking at me. What's the matter?
You there?
They think I'm on Fox News. So that's. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, we went in and out for a second. We got you back. So what different styles of African martial arts? What are the names? I know we mentioned the wrestling, the Nubian Wrestling. What are the names of some of the other African styles of martial arts?
Okay, and you see, the sad case is there has been a complete disconnection between the older African martial arts styles and what we have now growing today. So if you go back in the history of, let's say, Kempo, okay, now you have to go back towards through Ed Parker, through Hawaii, through James Mutos, and James Mutos is a Japanese guy. He's Chinese, and then his family's family art, this type of a Kempo. And so the Chinese were trading with the Okinawans, and that's a difference. That's a story in itself. And they started teaching the natives. So when the Japanese tried to invade, the Okinawans were beating them, And so when they captured the island, they identified those teachers that were teaching these people this art, and forced them to teach them that art. But you see, and if you know Okinawan language has no connection with the Japanese language. Not even one syllable, not even one word is the same in Japanese. So they couldn't communicate. So there's a good story behind that to show you the great amount of ignorance that we have. I'm glad I can be able to point this out. Okay, can you see me?
I see you fine. I see you just fine.
I'm raising it up. You see my hand here?
Yes.
You've seen this before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I see that.
Now think about it. When someone punches you this way and you put the hand here, how is this helping you?
It doesn't help you at all.
It doesn't help you at all. But this is what karate does even to this day. So I asked the karate people, all of them, what does that do? So they get all kind of stories. This is for somebody behind you, you punch them in the back, or this one gives strength to the front hand. You see? But it's not true. The real truth is when the Japanese tried to force the Okinawans to teach them, the Okinawans started teaching them from the basics. Their style. They started teaching them this one. You seen this one? Huh?
Yeah.
Can you see?
I see.
You seen this move? Upper block. Huh? They do it all the time. Upper block. Inside block. And each time this hand is tucked here. So the Japanese consider these movements blocks. Upper block, downward block, inside block, outside block. But that's not the case. The real fact is that what the Okinawans were trying to teach them was this was a grab and break. See? So, got a message in the thingy. This is a grab. You grab the arm and you break it. You grab the arm and you break it. That's why you have this motion. Can you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't have my partner here. So that's why the hand comes in this position, because you're pulling their hand and then you're breaking it. So the hand comes out and then you hit it. So this is what the Okinawa was trying to teach them, and that's what this was. So the Japanese didn't understand that, and they were in a hurry. Called that inside-outside block up until this very day. It's still considered that. And you can even see this in Kempo and Taekwondo. They just follow the suit.
Okay. So now you have the wrestling style in Senegal. I can't think of the name of it, but it's very popular. You know what I'm talking about? Bro, I think we're losing you.
How about now?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. Like your screen is freezing. Like okay, that's better. I see you now. I see you now. Okay, I see you now. Can you hear me? Oh, we lost you. You dropped off. All right, the brother will be back. Let me send him an email real quick, but he had dropped off. Hold on. We lost you. Just click back on the link again. Let me resend the link to him. You know, and he's just, if you guys want more as far as background information on brother Rahh, just the first video we shot yesterday, that'll give you his background information as far as where he's from. He's born and raised in South Central LA. You know, he's been a practitioner of martial arts for years now. He's a grandmaster. Then he, I guess he was somewhat disconnected. I'll let him tell you the story. But if you want to know his story, go ahead and check out the video we did yesterday. Check that video out. It goes into detail about his story, his background, how he came to Kenya. I know as far as it was between Nigeria. Oh, here we go. The brother's back. Grandmaster.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, you're back. You remember how to get you back live? You have to click on the drop down there on your picture, and then it'll.
You see me now?
You should be coming in. Let's see here. Yeah, I see you now. All right, you're back. Cool.
Okay, yeah, that's my wife now has decided she wants to go on YouTube and try to see what. So that's too many devices at the same time.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. Yeah, so you're back now. So I had asked about the martial arts style in Senegal, the wrestling. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
In Senegal?
Yes, in Senegal.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay, because it's very similar to the Nubian Wrestling in Sudan. So, I think if you're talking about wrestling, I think in most wrestling you can almost be assured that it's coming from Nubia. Okay.
So you see in the African culture, there, you know, to learn martial arts and to master the art of fighting is not something that you can just do like a part-time thing. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people in the martial arts today are claiming other people are fake. But you know, it's very difficult to master that art of fighting because it all ends up as in the mental state. Amount of self-confidence. You have to be in touch with your subconscious mind you know, and you have to keep a positive outlook on your ability compared to your opponent. And people just don't have the time. They can turn martial arts into like a recreation or a hobby.
Right.
Fighting, yeah. You see, I participated in over 400 tournaments, and I was a champion from orange belt, purple belt, green belt. I know what it takes to be. You know, you're almost like it's almost like you're crazy, because you just feel like anybody that gets in the ring with you, you have to believe that, you know, they have no chance against you. So this type of mentality, we don't really find that much in Africans, especially the ones that come from the rural land where they just do agriculture and farming.
Right.
I fought a Maasai warrior.
Really? How was okay? So here we go. The different fighting styles of our indigenous tribes, like the Maasai, you have the Kikuyu, you know, in Sudan, you have like the Mercy. You have these different tribes, like, but we never really see them fight. The only tribe we talk about is regards to fighting techniques are the Zulu, because they were very famous as far as their fighting techniques. When you fought a Maasai warrior, what kind of style of fighting did they have? Did you hear me, bro? Hello?
It seemed like we're breaking up again.
Yeah, I was asking, can you tell about your experience in fighting the Maasai warrior?
Yeah, it was the same like the Capoeira guy. You know, now here I am. I was a champion, and I was training 6 days a week for almost 6 years. My reaction time, my ability to move, is based on efficient and effective movement. So I had heard about the Maasai, and you know, this guy came to our school. He lived in the area, and I asked him to fight, but immediately he stood in front of me. I had already saw that it was he had no chance. First of all, he never really fought hand to hand, you know, or some sort of weapon. But and then the second thing is his muscles. His muscles were not trained to be for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there again was a disappointment. You know, I was vastly superior right from the beginning, and the guy ended up becoming my student. So,
wow.
you see, now this is what I'm saying about modern martial arts compared to African traditional martial arts.
Okay.
There's no comparison. It's like trying to compare, you know, the donkey and a Lexus. You know, which one is going to be powerful? Yeah, you see. So what we teach today is modern African martial arts based on efficient and effective movement, and we call it a system because it's no style. We're constantly improving it and changing it to make it better. You see.
Okay. Now, as far as what different, I think I asked this question before, what different styles or names can we attach to African martial arts? So I know you have the Nubian Wrestling. Are there any other different, I know somebody in the chat room yesterday had named a couple of different styles of African martial arts. Do you know of any, and can you describe where they originate from or tell us?
Okay, this is what I'm saying. The distinction between pre-colonial martial arts, African martial arts, and new African martial art, clean cut.
Okay.
You ought to try to find out how did Africans live, or you know, how Kenyans lived before colonialization. Very, very little information, and none of it is really accurate. You see, so you can't even really put a pinpoint on how traditional Africans dressed, you know, for lack of photos and the lack of keeping historical records. So the martial arts is the same. There again, now you see most Kenyans are either hunter-gatherers or they're in agriculture, so they didn't have a need for that. They didn't have a need to build guns and wants to go to war with them. They go to war. It would be the end of it. There would be no fighting. even today, I can be going to town, and I see these three people arguing viciously, you know, and I'm like, oh, the fight is just about to start, you know,
Right.
and then all of a sudden break out and laugh at each other and hug each other and go their separate ways. To the point where I would be with people and we'd be going somewhere and people, some 2 or 3 people be arguing somewhere and I wouldn't even turn around. I'm like, they're not gonna fight. They're just gonna argue, and most times it's right. Rarely do they fight. And if they do start swinging at each other, so that's the way it happened. Continue to build those type of traditional arts that we saw, and I'm sorry to say that there's very little connection between what was done in the past and what we do today. You know, you would like to have a connection, so you can have a historical connection to look back on, say our ancestors, ABC. But unfortunately, the sad truth of it is, and I have done the research, there's nothing like that. I was in Johannesburg, and I visited 24 schools in Johannesburg, martial arts schools. Not one of them was Zulu traditional. They were all copies of basically Asian styles. You know? So what we have today is the African copying the Asian. And the 2 main sources are Shotokan and Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
And see, Shotokan and Taekwondo, Japanese and Koreans, they don't like each other. You know, Japan invaded Korea, and in fact, there's a long history of that hatred for the two. So you can't come from Taekwondo and participate in an event with a Japanese, and you can't be learn Shotokan and go to a Taekwondo event. You see, they have kept that separation, and the African now he's an unwilling partner. He just got into these styles because he wanted to learn martial arts. You know, he has that in his heart, but he's become like just like a part of that dispute, because the way they're taught in karate is that karate is number 1, and the way they are taught in Taekwondo is Taekwondo is the best, and unfortunately, you know, that can't work. Now in came African modern martial arts, my style. You see, I came in 1997. There was nobody who knew anything about modern martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Within 4 years, it became the second most practiced martial art after Shotokan. So this is because we put a system together that explained every movement. There was no following behind Asians or anything like that. Everything was explainable, and that's the difference between modern martial arts. One of the differences between modern martial arts and traditional martial arts.
Okay. So how do we, I guess, there has to be a way where we could learn or really go back and study the indigenous forms of African martial arts. You're saying that we're pretty much cut off from that completely.
You're completely cut off, because you see, what is a style? A style of martial arts is only the set of techniques that it has. That's how you identify it. If I come to you and you start kicking for me, I can look at you and say, okay, you take Taekwondo. If you come and say you movements, and that's Shotokan. If you come and do some that's Kung Fu. So and those are based off the technique. So if we break what a martial art is down, martial art's essence is its techniques.
Okay.
Techniques, styles should be different, so that a person can identify this is their style. Okay, so now you have that. So now you go back to traditional African martial arts. There was no writing of paper, tape. You see, there was nothing. There's even a language. You see, there's even a language barrier. You know, and then at the same time, there was no time for them to sit down and create. And then when you learned, who could you fight? The people were peaceful, so you can't go to someone and or you come and you and your cousin or your brother. You guys learn how to kick and punch and fight each other, and then you go out and you tell everybody, come for the show, come and watch us do martial arts. Villagers won't come because it's not in them, it's not interesting to them. If you get what I'm saying. So you see, there's no driving force behind for them to do that in the rural areas, and that's why today even today, you cannot go to rural side of anywhere and find martial art schools when everybody's training. You
Right.
only find martial art training today in the city, in the urban areas. You know, so this is my point. We can be caught up in what's going on in what happened in the past in the traditional African martial arts, and anybody can just make something up and say that was from the past. Or we can look at what we have today, the modern martial arts, the modern African martial arts that is out there and is competing against Asian Shotokan and Korean Taekwondo, and gaining a foothold. You know, people, if you go to, if I guarantee you that if you take 3 martial artists, one Kempo, one Taekwondo, and one Shotokan, and they all had a chance to demonstrate their art, most other Africans would go to the Kempo side, as opposed to, because if they don't know what Shotokan is and they start seeing, you know, this and this, they'd be confused. So it's the same. So we have to look at, we should be looking at more of what's going on in modern martial arts than what's going on in the ancient time. We're missing the point. Is where we need to have our focus, not so much in those things in the past, because there's no written record, so that, you know, anybody can make up anything.
Okay. But you're saying the only written record was the written record of the Nubian Wrestling. That was the only written record that was documented, I guess. That's what you're saying. Pre-colonialism.
It's the oldest written record. There's so many records. BBC, the History Channel, all of these major groups have done documentaries on ancient Nubian wrestling. And you see, in the Nubian wrestling, it was so much part of the culture that this is how you get your wife. You go out and you wrestle, and they would have, the women would come out and they would have the best, most beautiful, you know, okay, not beautiful for them, but I mean, you know, the most, you know, well-strong women of the village. You see, the most prominent ones in the village, and they would line up, and then these men would fight and wrestle each other, and the winner would get the best woman. You see, they could get their pick of the best female, or they don't actually pick the female. After they win, when the females come and they would throw their leg over the man and representing that this is now my man. You see?
Wow, yes, that's
So
awesome.
that is how it was done even today in the culture. But now you see you have TV, you have video, and so these companies have done documentaries. So I urge everyone to just go to Google and Google Nubian Wrestling, and then you can get all of these facts, you know, from there.
So what was the purpose? So as you said, African people are very peaceful people. So what was the purpose of martial arts? What role did it serve in you know, different African communities prior to colonialism?
Okay, when I say Africa is peaceful, I'm saying since well, I can't say since the end of colonization, but since those times of the European colonization in the early 1700s, where these people were just coming in and infiltrating the Germans. You know, when they split Africa up, you know, the Germans took some, the Portuguese, the French, and the British. So a lot of they would come in and they would sometimes wipe out African village or push them out. So there was a lot of confusion, and then those were some of the reasons for them to get together and try to fight the Mzungu off, as they call him. But you know, they failed miserably because you know, the European had gun, and the Africans were not organized, and they were not they were more for peace than they were for war. You see, then the movie Shaka Zulu explains this. And if you look at the movie Shaka Zulu, how they're saying how even Africans, when they did war, they didn't really try to kill each other. You see, and it took Shaka Zulu to say, and Shaka Zulu had already got the message about how the Mzungu was coming in, raiding and killing, wiping out villages. So this was the case for them, for Africans not to have that type of fighting style, or not to develop strong martial arts to defend themselves. Although now in the time of Egypt, there were a lot of invasions. When you have good things like the Egyptians had, people always want to take it from you, and they developed armies and they were good. But you see, over time, as they migrated into sub-Saharan Africa and they started getting into agriculture, they didn't see the need for that. In fact, the reason why they left and moved to the sub-Saharan Africa was to get away from the violence. So you see, the societies were, and they were not set up like that, where they could have to defend themselves and have to build, forts and fortresses. That was not them. That was the Europeans that were building fortresses and things like that for war.
Right.
This is why we were colonized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you made a great point about and people who are watching this, I highly recommend you watch the whole. In fact, I binge watched it. It's like the African Game of Thrones, the Shaka series, the Shaka Zulu series. I highly advise or recommend you guys watch that. And he pretty much, and you were right as far as your point, that when Africans fought, they didn't try to kill each other. And there was a scene, spoiler alert, there was a scene where Shaka, like they were kind of just tossing spears at each other and missing, they're just laughing and giggling. And then Shaka grabbed his spear, ran up on one of them and stabbed him. And they were like, they were just like, whoa, what just happened? And yeah. And then of course, Shaka Zulu, he took the spear was long. So what he did, he shortened it.
Exactly.
So it'd be easier to jab people with. So I highly advise people watch that.
You see, if I can cut in real quick, you can see what Shaka did was he created a technique. You see, and he found that technique worked. And if you watch the movie, even I don't know how they did it. He's doing that same technique each and every time. Bounce the shield, lift the shield, and then stab him with the spear. Such a basic technique. But you see, if you don't have technical knowledge of fighting, even to think like that, you will not be able to create those type of techniques. So therefore, he was able to become a great warrior and walk into battle because no one was practicing techniques at that time. Now, that's the same thing that we're going through today. When I came into Kenya, at this time, no one is creating technique. The African in his mind is not creating techniques. He's just copying the techniques from what the Asians are giving them. So if you learn Taekwondo, you're not learning. You're just a copy of Taekwondo. The Koreans are still going to control it. If you learn karate, you're just copying. You're just copying. So here now, I teach my students how to create techniques. In fact, they cannot go to black belt until they they create a technique and write it on paper, give it to me, then perform it. You see, and then it has to meet those qualifications of a really good technique. And I can tell you, the African has great creative ability. It's just that you don't exercise it if you're learning karate or taekwondo.
So I see a lot of Africans going and training with the Shaolin monks. I see a lot. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. Will we ever have our own platform or institution where instead of having to go and train amongst the Shaolin monks, they can just come and train with a guy like yourself in Kenya?
Okay, this is all commercial. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's the facts. It's all commercial. Where in the world are you going to have in the 21st century? You're going to have monks in a temple, and that's all they do is do martial art training. No, if you go to China, you'll find that all of these so-called monasteries where they're training are open to the public, and you pay money to get in to watch them. So this is comes from the movie Kung Fu. If you remember back then with David Carradine.
Mm-hmm.
And a brilliant movie. The philosophy, except it missed one thing: that Buddha was a black man, and what these people learned was what they learned and what they worshiped was a black man.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, if you go look at the statues of Buddha, he has cornrows. In the early depictions of Buddha, they show him as black.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's the one who is accredited for creating Chinese martial arts.
Buddha?
Yes, Haram Buddha Haram. So he's he came and the monks were there and they were meditating, and he found that when they were meditating, this is the story. When they were meditating, they would even fall asleep, and they were doing so much meditating that they became out of shape. And this is the case. But in actuality, what happened was the Egyptian priest who escaped the raft of Alexander the Great moved into Asia, and this is how Buddhism was started. So these black men, they were easily, when they came across the Chinese who were just immigrants, I mean not immigrants, but you know, farmers and peasants that had no education, he started to teach them, and they grasped the information, and they revered him. You see, and they had to protect him. So this is why they made these temples, to protect this guy, wisdom that they needed, the enlightenment. And it wasn't just martial arts. But at first, when he was teaching them, they would have to learn for many years, as you know, to become a priest. So when they became priests, then they would go out the temple and then spread to go to a place and make up another temple. That was the objective. So this priest who now trained for 10 years now goes out. This Chinese priest now goes out the temple, and he starts to go into the villages, and he starts preaching. And you see, that time, if somebody saw you and you were strange, they would call you, Mr. Ghost, or a heretic. The same way they killed Socrates. He was different, and the people that killed him. So these monks would go after 10 years, go out there, and after 2 weeks they'd be murdered. So when they got back to the temple, they decided that, well, we need to teach these guys how to fight, to defend themselves, so that they can, they don't get killed. They can at least fight them people off. That's how that's how the martial arts was started into the temple. They started teaching the monks that martial arts, how to defend themselves, which the African already had. And so they learned that, and they learned the weapons of the day. And so when they went out to teach, they could teach. And then if somebody tried to fight them, they can beat them, but they would do it humbly, very humbly. And that's what Bruce Lee meant when he said fighting without fighting. When Bruce Lee said fighting without fighting, he meant physically fighting, but not with mental fighting. Don't get emotionally involved in your fighting. You see? So it's like a business, you come at me, but my mind is not going to get angry or sad.
Mm-hmm.
See, as a distraction. I'm going to just my mind is just going to be calm, but I'm going to do all of the movements to control you. See.
So good, man. I really appreciate the history, because we don't get all of it. We don't get any of this. So I really appreciate the history and the stories that you're sharing with us right now, because we need it, and people need to hear it. So as far as new modern African martial arts, where do you see it in, we'll say, 10, 15 years from now? Because again, over here in America, it's just martial arts amongst Black people isn't as popular, or isn't really popular at all, as I think we discussed this yesterday, as it was, I think, back in maybe the 70s and 80s. So what are we doing to gain people's interest as far as to get involved with it, instead of just going straight to football and basketball?
You see, that's my point from earlier. You have to look at martial art as, how is it going to benefit me? See, the average practitioner is going to look at it as, how is this benefiting me? Or I can meet my friends there, or I can get some aggression off, or I've been having this fear of bullies all the time. Somebody's been ready to beat me. I want to be able to. So these are all the wrong reasons. It has to be, you have to have the proper reason to take it and to make it become part of your life. You see, martial arts is older than religion. So it was considered like a religion in its day, but when it came to the West, when it came to the U.S., it changed. See, all of these values were lost, and so people started doing it. Like with Ed Parker was the first American to open up a commercial martial arts schools in California, and they didn't know anything so much about business. You see, so this is what you have to teach them. I teach my students the business side of the martial arts. That's one thing, because you have to, in order for you to master it, you got to make a living at it. You can't master something that you need to do 6-7 hours a day, and then and then you don't get paid. You get what I'm saying? So, and there's a way to make money, and I showed that you can make money in the martial arts as a business, and then at the same time, you as an instructor can grow in your knowledge. You see, the way it should be. So just like if someone gave you a scholarship for college, imagine if someone gave you a scholarship for martial arts and told you you got 4 years to learn everything you can and then come back and teach us. You see, we don't have that in the U.S. And then amongst black people, we have this ego thing where if somebody teach me, I'm not going to tell anybody where I learned from. I want to take all the credit.
Yeah.
So this is also killing. This is also killing us. The Black Karate Federation was in shambles time after time because of the same type of nonsense. And unfortunately, we have to get past that. We have to grow past that. One of the reasons why I left the United States was because of those same issues. And when I got into Africa, I was so pleased that the African didn't have this type of behavior. So it grew. The martial art, our martial art grew, so quickly. I mean, I was in the championship for 6 years, and then I was managing 29 schools at my peak, all throughout the country. And even now, last year we had a record season of growth again in the martial arts. I think I sent you that picture.
Yeah, I put it up as far as the avatar for the video. I used it.
Yeah, so if you look at that picture, you can see over 160 students and my black belts who are there with me.
Right.
In that picture. Now go find that picture somewhere in the United States. Something that's similar to that. You can't.
Okay.
So and then that group came in like what 6 years. It is in 2005. Yeah, 8 years. So we accomplished all of that. I think this is what we as black people have to see. And I think that the way you can see it, a black person can see it, is if they leave the United States and go where they're the majority people, and you can get an understanding. Because in order for you to learn, you need peace.
Right.
You have to be in a peaceful place to learn, quality. So, we unfortunately in the U.S., how can somebody really train today when the police are shooting them? And stress. I mean, people are protesting all over the place now. You get arrested for just blinking. So. Nobody wants to be thrown in jail, and that's exactly what will happen to you. And then you'll be sued if this kind of issues come up where you have a dispute with someone and you start fighting them. And even if you are correct in your justice, in your judgment, you can still be put in jail or be financially ruined for swinging one punch.
Now, I think one of the main reasons why, personally, my opinion, I think one of the main reasons why black people aren't as involved in martial arts is because I don't think they see the money in it. But you said you teach the business side of it because, you got to think about it. If you're from the hood, what's going to be the misconception is the easiest way to get out is football and basketball, as far as getting a huge lump sum of money in that check. They are boxing. They'll gravitate towards boxing more than they will martial arts. I think the reason why is because they don't see the opportunity as far as making a lot of money in martial arts. That's why they won't do it. But they see a bunch of martial artists who are rich and making money, then I think they'll come and be more involved in it. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and my school was on 109th and Broadway, so you see where I was deep in the hood, and our classes were always packed. But that's because I worked very hard on the business side of it. And then when I came to Kenya, like I said, I didn't change much. But I think you see here, martial arts, just like so many businesses, has a lot of branches. And then, I mean, I take them for granted, but let me just do it for people who may not understand. I open up a dojo, right? I teach about, I get a class of about 10 students.
Okay.
I tell the students they cannot train with me unless they have uniform. I get a percentage off the uniform, maybe even 50%, depending on if I make it with my own people. Like here in the US, I mean here in Kenya, I have a guy who makes my uniform,
right.
So I give him material, and I get a big percentage of that when a person buys a uniform.
But Paul, let me stop you real quick. You need to sell made in African karate uniforms. Seriously. I'm dead serious.
Well, we have them. I think we have them. I think we have. In fact, we created a new uniform. I'll send you some pictures on it. Very distinct. But yeah. So now we make our own fighting equipment. I have one of my gloves here. I make my own gloves. I don't make them now.
Let's see the glove.
The guy who makes them, and we make sure the students have those gloves. They must have the belt. You see. So that's another string of revenue. And see how you thought about who would buy it. I can sell it to different clubs. So
yes.
This is what I'm doing here this is what I'm doing in Kenya now. So that's the uniform part of it. Okay, now you have your promotion fees, because every 4 months you test them, and then you charge them for that grading. You see. So in order for it to really work, what you must have is a set written form of what they're supposed to learn. This is where most schools fail. This is where even the Black Karate said they have no set requirements. So the instructor can just come in one day and say, you're now a green belt, you're now a purple belt. You see. So you have to organize that promotion, set it up in a way where it's a ceremonial type of thing, and the student can come up and they can be rewarded, and the parents can come and watch. And when the parents come and see their kid, get rewarded, get the certificate, get a little ID card or even a trophy, wow, you see, the parents are ready to pay. You see. So, because you can make a lot of money, much more money teaching kids than you can teaching adults, and kids are always going to be good. So now you go to the next. That's another area. You can go now to tournaments. Point fighting tournaments are there. There's some major equipment companies already in the United States that sell lots of equipment for that. But you create your own tournament. Now you become a promoter. So you organize a hall, you get some other schools involved. They bring all their students for this game. You get a hall. You got about 100 players in there. You buy some trophies. You sell some food. Then you reap a lot of profit from that. So that's another avenue. I promoted about I think I promoted about 200 tournaments now. I have one on Friday that I'll be co-promoting. I mean, one on this Sunday. It'll be on live on Facebook in Nairobi. And see, we've come up with so many ideas on the promotion of tournaments and on that side. So that's another avenue. Then you have advanced classes. So your senior belts. You give these classes for the upper levels. They don't want to train with the regular people, so you give them a chance to train independently and get a higher amount of knowledge. And this people will pay for that, for that time. This is another form. Now you see, I've given you like 4 different forms of offshoot revenue besides teaching in the regular class.
Right.
And if you have an understanding of business, then you know how to push them and make them grow more. Make more money out of them. See? So this is what I've done in Kenya. Instead of doing tournaments, I created an entire league of tournaments. So you got 11 tournaments a year, ending in a grand finals tournament. And this thing is scheduled all through the season. People already know that they're coming. They make vacations, take vacations to come to events here in Mombasa, and it's a great money maker. So, these are ways that business sides of martial arts people may not see.
Okay. Well, brother, we're gonna go ahead and close out. Thank you for coming on. In closing, is there anything you want to share? Make sure you tell people your contact information, share your contact information as well, where they can reach you at. And you know, my son, he's in a wedding, so I got to get him ready for that. So,
Okay.
brother, you got the floor. Anything you want to share in closing? Also, please give people your contact information too.
Okay. Yeah. If anybody wants to find out more about what I'm doing here, they can Google me. I'm in K. Rahh. I used to have that paper. I don't know what I did with it anyway. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not the one. So yeah, I'm in K. Rahh, AMENHH. And then from there, they can get a hold of all the things that we're doing as far as martial arts in Kenya, modern African martial arts. If you type in, if you search African Sport Karate League, you can also get information about our tournaments. We have a page for that. And then for my style, Mantis Kimpo, MANTIS, you can also get me on that issue, on that on Facebook. So we do most of our work on Facebook and WhatsApp. That's where we do most of our advertising. We're not on Instagram. We're not on Twitter. Here in Kenya, we're just on WhatsApp and Facebook.
Okay. Brother, real quick, somebody just came late to the chat room. Can you give one more time, just we'll say a 4-minute breakdown of Capoeira and its origins?
4-minute breakdown of Capoeira's origins. Okay, there is no evidence of Capoeira in Africa. Now, there are people that are going to argue this point, and I would just say, show me the video of anything like something like Capoeira in Angola or in any part of West Africa. No, they can't do that. When you come saying that Capoeira is a fighting art, no, unfortunately, if you put Capoeira up against another style, it can't fit, because you cannot put your hands on the ground and cover a distance in order to reach your opponent. You see, the opponent would have to stand there while you put your hands on the ground and then swing your feet in the air and then bring your feet down on them. And although you see it happening in the movies, if you put a real fighter in front of them, that person is going to drag back, or that person is going to shift to the right or the left, or even worse, he's going to step in before your feet can drop down, and he's going to defeat you. You must, in order to be a survivor in martial arts, you must maintain the position of advantage all through your fighting. So when you throw a punch, you have to maintain that position of advantage. And then if you take a Capoeira and break it down, you cannot call it a fighting martial art. It's the same with Taekwondo. People think Taekwondo is a martial art. It is not a martial art. It is a sport. Go to the website. They tell you Taekwondo is a sport. It's not a martial art. It cannot fit the bill of a martial art. You cannot kick 70% of the time and consider that a martial art. So I always tell people, okay, you're a Taekwondo black belt. Yes. Okay, so you kick me. When he kick, I step inside. Now I'm too close for his legs to raise. You see, he becomes from black belt automatically to a white belt because he has no training for inside fighting. This is not a martial art. I grab him, I take him to the ground. Now we start wrestling on the ground. He has no training in what to do on the ground, so that's the end of it. So on Capoeira, I'm not going to say there's no connection. I'm just going to say that there's no proof of a connection, physically or culturally or any other way.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. So, guys, thank you for coming on. People in the chat room, thank you for jumping on and participating in this chat with the Grandmaster Rahh. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't yet. Please follow and like the pictures. Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you go to dynasamir.com. Make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com, and also make sure you go to amazon.com. Search your name, Dynasamir. Please buy a book. Again, Grandmaster Rahh, thank you so much for coming on. You know, you're going to be a regular. We're going to have you on more because I know there's a lot of wisdom that you have that we need to get and you need to share. So thank you for coming on. Everybody in the chat, once again, thank you for partaking and participating in this live stream. Search for Uhuru, the Kapitan Grandmaster Rahh. Till next time, peace.